have a dream, that's all I need. I'll make it happen with some work and belief.
Hello everyone, welcome to this channel, Crosswinds Pilot. My name is Leifert, and in this video we talk about making our team meetings more effective. So here are 5 aspects that you can use to make your team meetings more effective and productive, more fun, more short. Let's get right into it. When I joined a new company several years ago in a fairly senior position, I spent my first months attending all different kind of meetings. And I literally heard the same thing in every single meeting. So I went on to then streamline as many of these meetings as I could, and people loved it. The main reason is that there wasn't a clear purpose for every single meeting. Some meetings were information sharing, but it happened in so many different places that inevitably people heard the same thing over and over again. So make it very clear what the purpose of your meeting is. Is it to share information, so a top-down approach? Is it maybe to discuss progress of something that your team does, so it's more a bottom-up meeting? Is it a meeting where you intend to create something new? Or is it a meeting where you want to make decisions? Likelihood is, if it doesn't fall into one of those 4 categories, then it is probably likely that you can do whatever the purpose is outside of a meeting. I was equally at fault creating some of those meetings that I tried to streamline a few years earlier. And it is important to notice that sometimes meetings appear out of best intentions. An example I came across is that I wanted to make sure that my team got a little bit more exposure to the senior management of our organization. So I started to have team meetings together with my boss. It took me a while to notice that actually people hated it. Because now we were sitting together, we still had our team meetings without the boss, but we regurgitated everything twice, and they heard from my boss exactly what I heard from me that I shared from maybe our management meetings. And the important aspect, the important lesson I learned from that is you have to keep a very acute sense of the size of your meetings, the number of people that you invite. Keep the number of people exactly aligned to the purpose of the meeting. If the meeting is there to share information, invite as many people as possible, but make sure that this isn't meant to be a discussion meeting, because otherwise you'll sit there forever. If it's a meeting to discuss progress, then just invite those who can actually contribute. If it is a meeting to create something new, well, make sure you have diversity in the room. Don't just invite somebody from the same department, but make sure that you have different voices heard. And finally, if it is to make decisions, make sure you only and ever only invite the people who are allowed to make that decision. Now, this aspect is very closely related to asking yourself what is the least disruptive method to actually conduct the meeting. And maybe you think of meetings just as a gathering of people in a room, but there are so many other options. For example, take the information distribution meeting. Right at the height of the financial crisis in 2008, we established in our organization a meeting every morning for half an hour where the portfolio managers shared whatever happened in the market. But the most effective way to distribute that information was to provide a dial-in to everyone who wanted it. And I myself many a times just sat in my office, listened to it, and was able to do other things at the same time, because I only needed a very small set of information from all the information that was available to me. And yet in other departments where people worked that had a more close relationship with what's happening in the market and their day-to-day jobs, they gathered as a team together in a room, and they listened to that conference call as a team together. So make the medium appropriate to the purpose of your meeting. Sometimes it is the most effective way to bring people together. At many other times, a phone call or a video conference will do just as well. As a matter of fact, I'm actually recording this video during the time where a lot of people during the pandemic in 2020 are unable to go out and where working from home is the new norm. And we experience that having a video conference call can be equally as effective and can actually save some time. And apart from that, there is still many other ways how you can have a meeting. It could just be a huddle in the hallway, or it could be a stand-up meeting. Let me guarantee you, if you don't let people sit down, that meeting will last a lot shorter than it otherwise would. Which brings me to an interesting question. What is the optimal time for a meeting? Well, I can answer that very simply. It's 22 minutes. Let me explain. Scientists have figured out our sleep cycle, and it turns out that dependent on where you wake up in your sleep cycle, it has a profound impact on how awake and how fit you are afterwards. And once you get into maybe a deep sleep cycle, it can be very easy to wake up and be a little bit groggy. But if you wake up after 22 minutes, well, then you are fully rejuvenated. And so be kind. So if your meeting is really not necessary and you want to invite people, at least make sure that they only nap 22 minutes. Of course, that's only a joke, but there is a point behind that. Don't for a minute think that the only acceptable meetings are maybe a 30-minute meeting or an hour meeting. I was close to my father when he was still alive, and although we weren't physically in the same place, we had daily phone calls. And sometimes it was really nice to talk and we had a lot of things to share and exchange, but at other days we had phone calls and he called me and he said, "Anything?" And I replied, "Nothing." And then we both hung up. Hang up once your goal is achieved. Number 4, be aware of the power gradient in the room. In my commercial pilot career, we talk a lot about power gradients in the cockpit. And obviously, the captain usually is the senior person. He has a lot more experience, he has a lot more flight hours, and in general, he knows the plane a lot better than the first officer. And even though both do an equal amount of flying during a regular day, the ultimate responsibility lies with the captain. But equally, it also turns out that decisions are best made as a team, as a couple. And it usually works a lot better when the captain asks questions of the first officer, when he hears first what the other person thinks. Because think about it, maybe you are a very junior first officer in the cockpit and your captain has already told you exactly what he thinks. How likely is it that you want to disagree with him? How likely is it that you come up with your own original idea? But that is exactly what is required if you have a crisis, if maybe there is a critical situation arising. Then you want to have the most amount of information, the most amount of creativity that you can have. And it's very similar in team meetings. Make sure that as the most senior person, you speak last. Make sure that you engage the others in the team to gather their ideas, to find out what they think before you come out and share your thoughts. Final thing I want to mention is you are responsible. It's very easy to shift blame to somebody else. It's very easy to say, well, whenever I'm in a meeting with this or that person, it goes downhill and there is no focus and there is no solution, there is maybe no decision making. But recognize that it is you who is responsible. You can create the meeting that you want, no matter what level you're at. by asking the right questions, by involving the people in the right manner, and also by taking those 4 tips that we talked about before and make sure that you have a purpose to the meeting, that you understand what it is, and that you guide yourself, people, towards that purpose. So when you got value out of this video, please hit the like button, give us a thumbs up. And when you do like the content of this channel, then please consider subscribing as well. For now, I link a few videos up here that are related to the content today. And I wish you a wonderful week ahead. I will see you very soon in the next video.